Okay, so the 5 mental disciplines or the habits that I want you guys to develop as we go through this course, and we're going to use this to help us write our reflections on what we learn in this inquiry-based type of history course. The first one is evidence. How do we know what's true or false? What evidence counts? You can't pick up any item on social media without people talking about fake news or the fact checkers are going to check something. It's all over the place. How do we know what counts? That's going to become really, really important as we become consumers of information and evaluate what we're learning. Okay, second, viewpoint. How might this look if we stepped into another's shoes? What other perspectives are there? Okay, today we see a lot of conflict on the streets. It's a political season that start with two very different points of view. We need to be able to understand that kind of thing as a citizen in our country. So I want you guys to develop a sensitivity to say what view is not reflected. Where's the silence? Because there's always a silence and there's always a bias. I have a bias. You have a bias. That's part of being human. A connection. This is kind of important because some of you have been in the classes where, man, why are we learning this? It makes no sense. Is there a pattern here? Have we seen something like this before? When you see a pattern, you see the fingerprint of human nature on events. That's the way kind of to look at things, because you're going to see things that maybe haven't happened exactly the same, but similar. There's a guy named Mark Twain. Some of you guys might have heard of Tom Sawyer and all that. He had a statement that's one of my favorites. It says, history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And that's the fingerprints, the connections, the patterns. That's what we want to be able to learn by so that we can evaluate what's going on in our world. The fourth mental discipline, conjecture. Man, this is your creativity. What if it were different? This is where we start looking at the possible. If you want to reimagine something, look at the possible. Then we do the convergent thinking. We're going to get to that in the question process, and that's going to happen in the next session. But we have to go ahead and look at what if it were different. We have to understand why it was the way it was. There's a lot of things that we're going to go ahead and dig into, and I think you guys are going to be the ones that will dig into what's interesting to you. Relevance, why does it matter? If it impacts our lives today directly or indirectly, how? My commitment to you is I'm going to try to make sure everything we learn is something that has an impact on either the pattern that's established or ties to us directly today. Because otherwise, what's the point? So those are the 5 disciplines. You're going to learn those. We're going to be really good with that. You're going to get some handouts on some of this stuff down the line, and you're going to use that as you consider your questioning process, and then we start doing inquiry. That's going to involve a few things, okay? We're going to have to know not only what questions we have to start asking that are going to come from you, but also what's the next step. If you don't have an action plan, what good is a question? We're going to deal with that.